Okay, welcome everybody to another session at TMF Week. My name is Oliver Pierce. I'm joined by Chris Saint Amour. Both of us are working here at Montreal. As a reminder to everybody, of course, Montreal puts on TMF Week every year. So thank you to everybody for joining. It's been a whirlwind trying to put this program together. It's been a ton of fun, and Chris and I are really excited to present to everybody today. We're doing a little bit of a product showcase, focusing in on Montreal's eTMF system. And today we're going to specifically focus on improving efficiency and timeliness of TMF filing within eTMF Connect, which is Montreal's eTMF. If everybody wants to let us know where they're dialing in from in the chat, we'd love to see where we have folks listening in. Chris, have you enjoyed today's session so far? Which has been the most fun for you so far?
It's always, I have enjoyed the sessions. It's always nice listening to our leader here, Paul, speak. So it was a great way to start off the week and the day. I had a bit of a technical glitch for the second session that I was supposed to host. So you guys got a double dose of Kim this morning instead of me. So only a single dose of me today. So could be good for some of you. But no, obviously it's exciting. And you know, Oliver and I were just chatting away about, you know, how amazing it is that everyone not only looks forward to this event, but participates and, you know, just really everyone just dives in feet first, head first, whatever you want to call it. And it's a lot of fun to see, and it's even more fun to be part of. So
it is incredible to see this many TMFers, as we like to call everybody at Montreal. It's amazing to see this many people dialing in from around the world. I think we have like over 100 countries, people dialing in very early in the morning, very late at night, or during their workday. So obviously, huge thank you to everybody that takes time out of their day to come and listen to all of these great sessions. Obviously, this is day one, so we're just getting started. There's lots of amazing sessions upcoming. There's a couple more sessions this afternoon. We'll take a break right after this, so you guys can grab a bite to eat if you're not already doing so. I guess with that, let's jump into the session, Chris. So obviously today we're not going to spend a whole bunch of time. We want to really kind of focus on giving you some insights into how you can improve efficiency and the timeliness of TMF filing within eTMF Connect, Montreal's eTMF system. From there, we'll sort of kind of start by addressing the industry problem, kind of the things that we see as an issue in this area. And then we'll jump into sort of a live showcase of the system that Chris will be kind of walking us through. If you have questions throughout, please let me know. We'll be monitoring the Q&A tab. We'll be seeing things that are happening in the chat. There's also going to be a poll in the next few slides, so keep an eye on that poll. We really want to kind of survey the audience, so keep it coming in. Special shout out to Anne Ackley here, 17th anniversary as a TMFer. So that's you're celebrating your 17th anniversary at TMF Week. Incredible. All right, perfect. So let's get into it. So I introduced ourselves already, but just as a reminder, my name is Oliver Pierce. I'm the Director of Marketing here at Montreal. Been with the organization now for just over 10 years. Was here when we first started TMF Week 4 years ago, and it's been amazing to see how these things have evolved. My background is really in sort of e-clinical and R&D technology, and I'm joined here by Chris Saint Amour. Chris, maybe a quick intro from you.
Absolutely. Year 3 at Montreal, year 3 of TMF Week. Super excited to be here. A bit of a different role this year, coming in as head of solutions consulting, but really excited to show the system and collaborate with Oliver on this demo today. Really excited.
Amazing. All right, so let's jump into it. So how can TMF filing be a headache today? So anybody that's working in clinical research, anybody that's a TMFer on the line will tell you that study startup is an incredibly crucial kind of step in our TMF process, but also probably the most hectic time during the trial. So if you're coming up with if you're coming from a paper-based TMF or an electronic TMF, you're probably going to be very familiar with the TMF index and how important it is to set up well from the get-go, helping you understand what you need to file, when and where. Sometimes we might call it an essential document list. Sometimes we might call it a TMF index. In our system, we call it the eTMF plan. These are all just sort of synonyms for the ability for us to be able to identify what documents we expect to collect throughout the course of the study. Now, TMF filing can be a headache if we don't focus on our index from the beginning, but it's accentuated by the fact that often collaboration between sponsor and CRO can be challenging. Not always do we have all study stakeholders follow the same structure and index. Sometimes we might have, our sponsor kind of index maybe misaligning with our CRO index. Of course, we try as hard as we can to do that. Sometimes we might have CROs we work with that actually don't use things like the TMF reference model, which makes it more challenging for us to be able to understand what we should be aligning. Documents coming from many sources, that can be challenging. And of course, documents are often stored in various different systems. So how do we account for those documents that might be living in pharmacovigilance systems or CTMS systems or EDC systems or whatever it might be? I think there can often be bottlenecks because of personnel issues. Maybe there might be certain individuals that are responsible for certain activities, but they have other activities that they're focusing on as well. Or we might have a challenge in engaging non-TMF stakeholders, so folks that aren't in a core TMF role, but play a very, very important role within the contribution of a TMF. Processes can be very manual and arduous without kind of a streamlined TMF index process. And of course, then there's a huge potential for lost, missing, or misplaced documents. We really want to make sure that our TMF is complete at all times. And a lot of that starts by how we've defined our TMF index and how we've defined our essential document list. And then finally, of course, it's difficult to track metrics, maintain oversight, and remain inspection ready if you don't know if your TMF is telling the story that it should be telling at this point of the trial. And of course, managing your TMF index without the right tool set, it's a big pain. It's a big, big pain. So let's move on. First poll, really want to get an idea from the audience. If you head over to the poll tab, we'd love to know how you're managing your TMF index today. So I'll just publish that. Is it in paper form? You sort of managing some sort of paper log? I hope not. I doubt it. In an Excel spreadsheet, I'm guessing that that's probably the most frequently used sort of method if you're not managing your TMF in an eTMF system. If you have your index mapped and managed within your eTMF, generating placeholders, being able to identify what's missing or what's expected, or that you have no index at all. So we'll give everybody a few minutes. What's interesting here is we've got a tussle going on between in an Excel spreadsheet and in my TMF. But what's good to see here, Chris, is in my TMF is slightly leading at this point.
I was actually just thinking about doing this poll last year, and it'd be interesting, obviously, to look at the data last year versus this year. But I remember it being sort of a race between the two middle ones, Excel spreadsheet and my TMF. But I have a feeling that in my Excel spreadsheet was winning last year. So it'd be interesting to go see, Oliver. Maybe we can bring up those stats later on.
Exactly. Yeah, we should definitely take a look. So in my eTMF has really pulled away here. So 78, it's dropping down. Around 70% of you are mentioning that you're managing your TMF index today in your eTMF. And so, a lot of you are using the TMF index to generate placeholders, to be able to identify expected documents, all of those types of things. These are some of the things that we're going to show you how you can do in Montrim's eTMF system. So I'm just going to end that poll here. Thank you, everybody, for completing it. So let's move on. So during today's showcase, we're going to show you how you can take TMF filing and indexing from headache to happy place. So we're going to look at how you can predefine in-system TMF plans, so indexes, how you can automatically generate placeholders, how that improves and impacts the filing of documents on placeholders, either by uploading or through templates. We're going to also show you how you can receive artifacts from sites or vendors in the staging area, where we can do a lot of bulk indexing. We can add metadata. We can use the system to help us understand where we might be filing documentation. And then finally, how we can automatically route documents through predefined workflows. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to you, Chris. I will stop sharing my screen, and then we'll jump into the showcase. And as a reminder to everyone, feel free to throw in any questions in the live chat. If we have some time, we will try and get to them.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Oliver. Much appreciated. Great intro, as always. And obviously, I'm going to take you through our system today, but I think a lot of what we're going to look at pertains to a lot of the systems out there, especially when we're looking at sort of essentials document lists, indexes, or in the case of eTMF Connect, our eTMF plan that we'll go through. So obviously within the system, as Oliver was referencing, we do have a built-in index or an essentials document list, however you guys call it internally, that can obviously be edited, before a study, from a template, or really from the get-go. I'm going to head over to sort of the area where you can build out your plans within the system. You're going to see here sort of a study specific plan, but more importantly, and really where you're going to see a lot of the time savings within eTMF Connect are these templates over here. Obviously, as I was saying, you can have study specific templates based on, that specific study. So product A101 as an example, and that's the study that we're going to go into later. But again, for the purpose of this example, want to take you through what you can do for a template. And obviously that can be based off a phase, like in this case here that we're going to head into, but it can be based off of various different parameters based on, study type, whether it's a real world study or what have you. It could be, a larger study, smaller study, really whatever type of study that you have within the organization can be managed within this eTMF plan over here. Every trial is different. I think we all know that. So naturally, you can pick and choose sort of the documentation that you expect or the documentation that you want to bring in during that study. eTMF Connect and all of these artifacts that you're seeing here is referenced to the TMF reference model. So you'll notice that each document type is associated to not only the process zone, but the section itself. And then you're also going to notice not only the document level, but your milestones here. And why these milestones are important, and what we're going to look at sort of what this TMF reference model or the TMF plan generates in the systems are placeholders. So again, based on the documents that you're selecting, based on them being required or not, based on the count that you're seeing over here, but more importantly, the milestone, the system's going to determine whether or not a document is expected of you, or you've maybe missed that milestone, and now that document is missing in the system. I'm going to head back over to the navigator over here. What I was talking about were these placeholders, right? So you're going to see various different colors, but the ones I want to focus on today were sort of your expected and your missing placeholders. So based on those milestones, obviously the system is going to generate a set of expected placeholders for you to go and drag documentation into the system. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to head over to Canada in this specific example. I'm going to head over to my site of the SHRM, and you're going to see, based on this site being identified, the list of documentation that is required of me at this moment. So I'm going to bring up, and this is the first way that we can index documents within the system or bring documents into the system, is by simply dragging and dropping them over these placeholders. So you're going to see here I have a list of documents that came from a specific site. And I'm going to, for the example of this demo, I'm going to bring over the site confidentiality agreement. And as you're going to see, the document is being brought into the system, ready to be uploaded.
And Chris, maybe a question while we're here. So you mentioned that this is one of the ways to bring documents in is by sort of adding these documents to a specific placeholder. When it comes to uploading documents to the system, what's the real benefit here from adding a document to a placeholder versus just uploading it directly into the system?
Really good question. So I brought up the document as you were mentioning that, and you'll see that without me having to sort of do any of the work, a lot of that metadata, or in this case, where that document is coming from in the case of the country and the site, and obviously all the information about the process zone, the section, and the document type has all been automatically inherited from that placeholder itself, saving me a lot of time, and obviously saving me a little bit of the headache of having to bring in and index multiple documents. The only thing I would really have to do in this case is I would apply myself as the document owner, since I'm the one that brought it over to the system. I may have an approval date for it, and then I would go over and save and file this document into the system. So again, saving you a lot of time, because a lot of that information that normally you'd have to apply sort of manually to the document was automatically done so because of that that placeholder.
And I guess also it's sort of one of those examples where, you know, maybe that everybody that's working in the TMF maybe doesn't have a good understanding of where these documents should be living, where they should be filed, right? And so being able to upload documents directly to a placeholder, while, you know, it may seem simple, it will actually improve sort of the metrics around misfiling, right? Because now we're going to make sure that documents are always going to be filed in the correct location if we're dragging them onto the correct placeholder, and all of the associated metadata that's essentially kind of attached to that placeholder is going to be inherited to the document itself. And then you can make sure, as you go through kind of any of your QC or quality check processes, what is actually happening on that document and whether it's been filed in the correct location. But of course, it saves so much time, right, Chris?
Absolutely. Another cool way that you can save a lot of time is actually the staging area, Oliver. And I think we were sort of playing around in here this morning and showing how we can, upload multiple documents at once. So, if ever you're bringing in a lot of documents, again, in this case, sort of all from the same area, or more specifically, documents that are coming over from sites, right? You'll notice up here that there's a specific email address associated to this study, which means that your sites can collaborate with the TMF automatically and bring in documents directly from an email without them having to access the system. And the system will be smart enough to then go ahead and index those documents automatically. Bring in those documents, strip away the attachments from the system, as you can see here in the staging area. Again, what's really cool about that is you can save a little bit of money by not having to give user licenses to all those site users that are just contributing documents to the system itself. So back to this example here of sort of bulk indexing documents, just going to go ahead and select them all at once. And I'm going to go and edit the properties. So a little bit different in this sense of I wasn't bringing in over a placeholder and it'll automatically inherit any of that information. But in this case, since I know that all of these 5 documents are coming from process zone 5, I can go ahead and select process zone 5. And now all 5 of these documents are going to have that associated to it. They're different document types, so I'm not going to save any time there, but we'll save a little bit of time by associating Canada. I know they all come from that site of the shim that we were talking about earlier. I know that I'm the document owner, and these documents are all documents that were approved today. So now I can head into each specific type of document, whether it's a 1572 in this case. You're going to see I can continue to index this. What's also kind of cool to save you time, and if you don't know the index model, the reference model that well, you can just type in the document type and the system's going to automatically associate that metadata to it, again, saving you a little bit of time. Also wanted to take you maybe through the example of a medical license, because in this case, obviously, there's going to be document-specific metadata, Oliver, right? So we were talking a little bit about why specific metadata for specific documentation may be important, right? So if you see, I'll type in a medical license here, and right away, I'm going to get this document-specific metadata that's important because medical licenses have expiry dates and you have contacts associated to them. So you're going to want to associate the study role, the staff name to this really up-to-date medical license over here, and all important expiry date. And then that system is going to track that expiry date for you, so that if you want to run reports or if you want to, be proactive on any of the documents that you have in the system that may have expiry dates associated to them, the system is really going to help you identify those, obviously, saving you time, but more importantly, saving you multiple headaches. So once I associate all the metadata to these different documents here, I would just go save to file and study. And what's really cool is that each of these documents will then go through their specific workflows, each pertaining to that specific document, whether it has to go through a round of reviews, or whether it's a document that you can then just file directly in the study. Again, based on that document type, you're going to be able to run those documents through all kinds of workflows, all the way to a CFR 21 Part 11 signature. We're not going to go through that today, but I promise tomorrow at noon we will go through that And I'm going to show you a little bit of those workflows with Oliver and how the system is going to help save some time when it comes to QCing and improving documents.
Awesome. So we did have a question that came in, which was, how do we manage TMF index updates in the system and how are updates communicated to users? So when it comes to the index itself, you can, of course, update your specific whenever you can update your specific index throughout the study itself. And that will give you the ability to update placeholders in real time. Once those placeholders have been updated, you'd essentially be able to now start filling those placeholders. Maybe new placeholders will become available to specific study team owners or specific roles within the system. It's also important to note that, things like aligning to the TMF reference model, we're working, of course, very closely with the TMF reference model. Paul Fenton, our CEO, is on the steering committee. We get access, of course, to insights on when maybe new versions are going to become available very, very quickly and sometimes in advance. And then that gives us the ability to be able to integrate those updates to the TMF reference model either in real time or prior to those releases. So just a couple notes there on that kind of thing. So that was just a very quick overview of how the tool works from a TMF index perspective, how you upload and associate documents to placeholders and inherit metadata. Let me just pull up a quick slide and we will summarize and wrap today's session up. So what did we learn today? So we learned how to improve the efficiency of TMF management from study startup to closure through better tools for filing. We looked at how you can set up your eTMF plan or your index to directly generate placeholders. You can use even pre-existing templates. So if you have maybe regional or study design kind of focused TMF index templates, you can save them there. Or maybe if you have an agreed upon index with your CRO, you can work on configuring that directly in the system to then be able to populate placeholders from there. You can upload documents from your computer. So if you have something on your desktop already, you can drag and drop in bulk or individually. But you can, of course, provide a study-specific email address to stakeholders, potentially sites, CROs, or other vendors, depending on how you work, to be able to actually email documentation directly to the system. And as a reminder, the documentation will be stripped from the email, and that documentation then, you can start to associate the metadata. So you tell the system what document they are, where they come from, some key information, and it will file it away in the correct location for you because it knows and understands your index. It knows what you're expecting, and it knows what you need to file and where you need to file it. So that kind of summarizes today's session. We wanted to keep it short and sweet and give you a bit of a highlight. As Chris mentioned, tomorrow we're going to be focusing on workflows and how to improve author productivity. As a reminder, eTMF Connect is not just a repository where you place documentation, although it is very powerful in that use case. It's also a full document management system. So you can associate document templates, author from those templates, send those documents through predefined review and approval steps until those documents are made final. I want to thank everybody for joining. It's been a pleasure to have so many of you, in fact, joining us today for this session. If anybody is interested in learning more about eTMF Connect, or if you want to see your specific use case in action, let us know. Reach out to Chris or I through the platform or on LinkedIn or via email. And let us know if you're interested in seeing a sort of one-on-one or a private demonstration of the solution, where we can really tailor it to your organizational environment and, of course, the use case that you might be looking at. Chris, thanks so much for taking us through that today. It's been awesome as usual. I'll see you again tomorrow at 12 for another short showcase. Awesome. Thanks, everyone.